To unpack this, I'm joined by Bolu Michael-Biyi, who is a foreign policy analyst. Good evening. Glad to have you join me on the news.
Good evening. Thanks for having me.
All right. Talk to me about the effect the latest Russian shelling of Ukraine has, especially on the Sumy region. I mean, what do you see in terms of dynamics playing out about the Russia's military strategy?
First, the shelling of the city, of the region, and also the killing of civilians is a war crime. And if Putin is ever caught, he's going to be charged for crimes against humanity and other war crimes. And it's a sign of desperation. That's what countries that are desperate to win and they're losing ground. That's what they resort to. So it's a disregard for human life. And it seems that Russia's strategy has switched from capturing cities to destroying as many infrastructure as possible and also killing many civilians, which is quite unfortunate.
How about the overall picture now? Talking about Sumy, the region, how does it fit into the overall geography of the war? And what is its relevance when it comes to these Russian-Ukrainian conflicts?
Okay, you see, the region of Sumy is in the northeastern part of Ukraine, and that proximity to Russia makes it a vulnerable region, and it's very important to Russia to capture that region because it's critical for the supply of weaponry to the Russian army, it could also be a diversionary tactic, which is used mostly by countries that are beginning to lose ground in war. They try to attack a particular city heavily so as to distract the opposition from moving their forces to concentrate on that region and thereby leaving other important areas vulnerable. So while the opponents are focusing on the new city that is being bombed heavily, the Russians can now attack the other Ukrainian cities that are vulnerable. So Ukrainian forces must be careful not to be caught unaware and believe strongly they are very aware of Russia's military tactics.
Well, talking about Ukraine being careful, how do you see this evolving as a result of Ukraine's counteroffensive, especially in the Kharkiv region? And does this mean Russia's military, what does this mean for the military posture of Russia?
Well, the implication, for Russia's military is that they are actually losing ground, and Kharkiv is also a very important city for Ukraine, the second largest or second biggest city of Ukraine, and it's a morale booster for the Ukrainian forces to have regained that city, because the Kharkiv is a very critical city or region or state in terms of Russia's military supply as well. So it gives them control or the ability to cut Russia's military supply. So it's a morale boost for the Ukrainian forces that we can marry that to what's going on in the Russian camp. While Ukraine is gaining grounds and retaking cities, Russia is jittery and acting desperate and killing civilians and losing ground. So which means that we might be closer to the end of this war with, things swinging in favor of Ukraine.
Now, let's talk about conflict resolution now. How do you think the international community should intervene to prevent further escalation?
Now, we cannot deny the fact that, the whole world has been affected by this war in terms that Russia is a very big country, biggest country in the world. And, they also have, economic power in the supply major part of Europe. Their gas, and they also control major trade routes, and now that ships have to take like longer route and all that, they want to incur their costs in terms of goods and services. And we've seen the price of food rise all over the world. And we've also, in terms of international response, we've seen economic sanctions on Russia. We've seen humanitarian aid to Ukraine and military assistance to Ukraine as well, especially from the United States and the other Western allies. So even though this might sound positive to supporters of Ukraine, I think it's important to still try and explore diplomatic measures.
All right, thank you so much for your insight on the news. Bolu Michael-Biyi, foreign policy analyst. Many thanks once again.
Thank you for having me.